Maybe there's something to this whole white privilege thing after all. I mean, look at the case of two bombers, one white, one member of a white group, one member of a black group. On the one hand, we've got a guy who was a member of the Weather Underground. He and his buddies blew up exploded bombs at the U.S. Capitol, police stations. Lots and lots of people were hurt. Universities, lots of people were hurt. Some people died when lots of bombs went off accidentally, killing people that this guy may or may not have been in the house right before or right after. When the feds caught up with him, when the cops caught up with him, he got off on a technicality, no doubt, at least in part because of his dad was an uber successful, uber wealthy member of the Democratic establishment in a little town called Chicago. That is where Bill Ayers came from. Bill Ayers, after he quit his career as a bomber, at least we think he quit his career as a bomber, he went on to become a college professor. He went on to become the mentor of local politicians like Barack Obama. And if you believe Jack Cashill in his book, which I do, this is my favorite conspiracy theory, Barack Obama didn't have anything to do with writing that book, Dreams of My Father. What was it, Dreams from My Father? Anyway, didn't have anything to do with that. That was Bill Ayers who wrote that book. Because Barack Obama has never written anything before or after to compare to that. So a lot of people want to know, who wrote that book? And if it was Barack, why didn't he ever produce anything like that for the rest of his life? So anyway, Bill Ayers is leading a life of white privilege. He's recognized as one of the top, this is scary, this is even scarier than the bombings. He's recognized as one of the top educators in the country. He's a professor of education. He goes around giving speeches talking about the stuff we're talking about now, white privilege, white racism, black neglect, the whole thing. He's leading the good life. But what about these two clowns in Columbus, Ohio? Their big plan was they were going to build a bomb. They were going to set the bomb in a school. They were going to mark the school up with swastikas and lots of signs, lots of N-bombs, saying that they were going to come back and blow the school up again and do lots of bad stuff because they were white supremacists, white nationalists, and they hated black people, and that's why they were doing it. What happened to those guys?
Explosion that forced evacuations in an East Side neighborhood almost a year ago. One man involved in that incident is now pleading guilty after revealing his plot to make a bomb and plant it at a school. The man's reason was to create a diversion for police while he robbed a bank. NBC4's Olivia Fecto tells us this happened in April of last year while Roberto Innes Jr. was squatting in a vacant house. And she's live now with new details on this. Olivia?
Ellie, the house where this all happened has now been demolished, but this is where two men were allegedly making explosives. Prosecutors say this was all part of a bigger plan.
It's like, out of the movies. It's crazy.
James Jesse remembers April 5th of last year clearly. He and his wife weren't able to get back to their house where their two teenagers were.
It's pretty scary. We couldn't get to our kids. Police were all over the place. Bombs were being exploded, so it was pretty scary.
Firefighters had come out and found one man severely injured inside the house at 609 Southampton Road. That man and another man were charged in connection with that incident. Today, 22-year-old Roberto Innes Jr. entered guilty pleas to charges of aggravated arson with a firearm specification and criminal use of an explosive device. Together, those could carry a sentence of up to 20 years in prison. Prosecutors say the bomb squad found a small amount of white powder that day, but also a note.
Found a handwritten letter that indicated racial epithets towards police officers, as well as hate symbols, and an amount of explosives in an envelope with this note, indicating that a large amount of explosives was placed at a school and the time of detonation.
James Jesse says in the 4 or 5 years he's lived here, nothing like this has happened. He says it's generally a decent neighborhood.
Yeah, for the most part, it's been a little lively, but nothing like that.
Well, it didn't turn out too well for those guys. One guy lost his hands. The other guy's gone into the slammer for a long time. But if he keeps his nose clean, maybe he can come out and get a gig on CNN. Maybe he can get a gig at a local university teaching sociology or education, political science, chemistry, lots and lots of things that they hire black and white radicals to do in these universities. I don't even think they make you sign a loyalty pledge anymore. They used to make you do that. I think Truman started that after World War II. No loyalty pledge, but you do have to promise one thing. No matter what you teach, you won't make the black kids angry.